So welcome everyone to the Failed Podcast. Thank y'all for tuning in. Thank y'all for subscribing. You know what I always say, man, I like to bring on interesting people and just have great conversations. And that's what we're doing today. And so I hope that y'all enjoy today's conversation. Lindsay Nicholas New York is a globally recognized fashion brand that's redefined wardrobe essentials for the modern woman. With the focus on luxurious fabrics, international design, and powerful silhouettes, the brand blends effectiveness, style, and timeless sophistication. Born in New York and now based in Melbourne, Lindsay creates versatile pieces that transition seamlessly across season, occasion, and continents. Designed for the purpose-driven woman, the collection empowers confidence without the need for overstyling, embracing the philosophy of buying less, but buying well.
Absolutely.
I hope I did good.
You did, except for Lindsay Nicholas.
Lindsay Nicholas. I don't even know.
As in Santa Claus Nicholas, yes.
And so the funny thing about the Failed Podcast is I can make failures and mispronounce things, and it's on brand.
That's right.
So
That's great.
Please forgive me. We got to sit down and talk a little bit about your journey and some of your stores. And then I got to look at some of your clothes online.
Wonderful.
And it definitely has a certain classy style to it. My wife was looking at it. I was just like, oh, it all looks cool. And she's like, I like this black dress. And I was like, cool. So it hit in my home, and my
Wonderful.
wife liked some of your stuff. But you're a fashion designer. You run a clothing brand, and you're spread across a few areas. One is in Melbourne.
Yes, we have 3 stores in Melbourne, and we have 1 store at Galleria Dallas, and it's our first store in the U.S., so we're very excited about it.
Very good. And that's where we are today. If you're
Yep.
watching this, we're in the Galleria
store.
here in Dallas. If you are, Valentine's already passed, but you can always buy a gift for your wife, and we're right by the skating rink.
That's right,
So,
there's no occasion. You just buy gifts, everyone loves them.
And so I like to share people's stories based on failures and challenges, because we all end up where we're at in life, whether it's success or whether it's in a comfortable place or whether we just found peace and we're fishing for the rest of our lives. We got there one way or another.
Yep.
Failures always seem to show up, but we're gonna go back to your beginning. And we're gonna try to I'm gonna try to frame some questions around fashion. So tell me about where you grew up when you were a little girl, maybe elementary, middle school, and tell me a little bit about the fashion that surrounded your life back then,
Sure.
if you can recall, and then we'll go from there.
I absolutely can recall. So I grew up outside of Boston. I grew up in Wellesley, Massachusetts. Went to K through 12 Wellesley school system and public school system. My mother was very, very fashionable. She she actually went shopping pretty much every day. She would stop on her way home from work. She would stop at Bloomingdale's, and she would walk in and everybody knew who she was. You know, she was very, I guess, a bit flamboyant.
Yeah.
And then my grandmother as well, my grandmother Vesta, was very fashionable in a very different way.
Yeah.
And just, we always had this thing growing up where we would have the family all get together at my grandmother's house, and we would go out to dinner, and you'd hear blow dryers and, smell a hairspray, and then people would walk down into the breakfast room, and I actually almost called my business the breakfast room based on this. Everyone would walk down to the breakfast room, and people would go, ooh, I love what you're wearing. Oh my gosh, your hair looks great. Or everyone would just compliment each other's fashion. And it was just such a great moment. Just really exciting being there.
When we grow up, things happen around us and we really don't know how to define it, or like even just pull out the lessons of it because we're little, because you're in it. When did you realize? You said your mom was flamboyant, she loved fashion, and so did your grandma. At what age did you look back and say, man, they had style, in their life, and I just didn't know? When did you finally start looking at old photos and you're like, man, my mom she knew how to put it together really well?
Yeah, I think I always knew. I do look at photos now, and I can definitely see, the style of the times and things that have sort of come back. Like I'm doing a pair of pants now that are not unlike something my mother would have worn in the 70s. So I see it come back, but I think I was always aware of it, and I always was drawing as a little kid. I was always drawing pictures of women in clothes, and my sister was drawing horses, and I was just always about fashion and clothes from as long as I can remember.
For me, growing up, fashion, we didn't dress well, we secondhand clothes, but I remember looking at other kids that had nice things and feeling a certain way. And when I grew up, I started liking shoes, but I didn't grow up having nice shoes.
Yep.
What are some of the lessons that you had to learn that maybe came from the way your friends dress, the way you dress? And I know it's kind of a deep question, but it really guides the way we grow up, how we present ourselves in the world.
Without question.
Almost to the point where people would look at me, other people who weren't necessarily my friends, and they would judge me. And they could tell that maybe we didn't have a lot of money. And so I had to deal with that growing up, but I love fashion. But back then, it had a power over me that I couldn't control.
Yeah. Actually, growing up, my mother would only buy things on full price. So if something was on sale, there was something wrong with it. And my sister, we did not have a lot of money growing up either. My mother was a school teacher. My dad worked for the phone company, and my parents were separated before I even remember. So we would be very, very selective on what we would pick. So I maybe got 5 pieces of clothing in the fall to go back to school with.
Yeah.
So I would be really, really selective on what I picked. And I remember my cousin could shop at TJ Maxx, and she would have like wardrobes full of things.
Yeah.
And I would have my 5 pieces, but I loved them. And I would focus, like my sister and I would start doing mood boards the second we got out of school in June for what we were going to wear in September and what those clothes were going to make us become. Because you'd become like a different person when you had these clothes. So I would, I was going to be preppy this year. I was going to be whatever it was going to be. It was all about the clothes, and people do judge you within 3 seconds. Within 3 seconds, they'll make a judgment about you, and that's often why you can find people that are sort of in your tribe, because you'll look at somebody who has kooky glasses, like I have kooky glasses, and you'll know that they're in your tribe. So it's also a big way of connecting. So
growing up, like I started liking shoes. So as far as fashion goes, my connection to fashion is like the shoe culture, hip hop culture. And so as soon as I was able to get shoes that I liked, I ended up getting a lot of them, and I like switching them out, and it represents who I am. They're not pristine, I wear them, but I enjoy. Like today I wore these for the interview, and I picked them on purpose because I really like them.
I like them too.
And so is there a piece of clothing that you really look at and you say, if I had to pick something first and everything else had to wait, this is what I want my taste to show in?
I think it's interesting when you talk about shoes, because I'm actually a shoe crazy person. And when I first went to school at Parsons, I was actually going to study shoe design. That's where I was headed.
Very cool.
And it seemed, truthfully, as I got into it, I just didn't think I was going to be that good at it. It's just, there's so much to it that and having to go to Italy, and I don't speak Italian and all these types of things. But shoes are the first thing I look at just to see how somebody put themselves together.
Yeah.
But then, of course, I'm a clothing designer, so I look at the whole look, but I want my clothes to make the person look more beautiful. I don't want you to necessarily look at the clothes.
Yeah.
I want you to go, okay, that's stylish, as opposed to saying, I love that jacket, or I love those shorts, or something like that.
Growing up, we always face challenges, whether it be at school, whether it be with friends, or just socially. What were some of the things that kind of defined you? Where did your biggest lessons in life come from growing up? Being how your mom was fashionable, you ended up doing fashion, but did anything happen that kind of prepared you and led you to the career you're in now?
Well, there's a couple things that come to mind. So one thing in terms of fashion, I would always dress myself. Like I was very, I didn't want to necessarily fit in, where I think especially when you're younger, you're really meant to fit in. And I remember wearing something to 3rd grade. I remember my class with Mrs. Gatto, and I think I had a poncho on. I had done some crazy thing in my hair, and I came into class, and my teacher thought I looked ridiculous and basically made fun of me. And I remember it was my first panic attack, 3rd grade. I just remember sitting in front of the class and just shrinking. Like I was just like turning red and shrinking. And I'm glad that it didn't affect me to the point that I just then tried to fit in. But I do remember that my standing out was made fun of a bit. And I guess I sort of owned it. So I guess that would be one. And then in terms of my work ethic, I have an incredible work ethic, and a lot of that comes from my family, because there's a lot of people in my family that have incredible work ethics. But I was the captain of the junior varsity field hockey team, and we won every game except for one, and I was very good at field hockey. And the next year I went, and of course we had to try out every year. I tried out for the varsity field hockey team, and I got cut. And I didn't make it. And my sister, who'd never played field hockey, made the team. And I was like, how could I, like, I was just, I was, how could I not make the team? And I was in my sort of stomping, fit of rage. I'm like, I'm going to go out and get a job. And I was 15, and I went and got a job, and I fell in love with work. Yeah. It was one of those things, because I think growing up, I had a bit of a weird growing up, where maybe if you did something good, it wouldn't be rewarded, or if you did something bad, you wouldn't be punished. It was, you sort of couldn't tell where the punishment and the reward were going to come from. And it was very rational to me that I could do something well and I would get rewarded for it. And I fell in love with work. And that, I think, has taken me to where I am today, is that I'm probably a bit too much of a workaholic. My husband would definitely agree with that statement, but I absolutely love to work.
Standing in front of that class and just shrinking and feeling that anxiety, because you were expressing who you were through clothes. And there's people watching, and they want to express themselves, and they won't wear the red shoes, or they won't wear the scarf because they're scared that society's going to shrink them. What would you say to us to encourage us to say, what, if you do want to be, you do want to show a certain thing, how do you get there after that lesson? How would you tell someone, wear that because it looks good on you. Don't worry about what people are going to say. Don't shrink based on people's voices. That helps you grow. Whenever you wear something that gives you confidence, that represents you, it almost helps you stand up a little taller.
Absolutely.
What advice would you give to someone who's struggling with that?
And I think the same is exactly what you're saying, is that you have to have the confidence within yourself. And if you're loving what you're wearing, just know that. And you will also find those people that will see what you're wearing, and that will form your tribe, to what I was saying before, that those people will look at you and say, gosh, I love red sneakers. We're the same type of person. You just have to sort of own it. And I think even as I get older, there's things that I probably wore when I was younger, and I don't believe in changing the way you dress as you get older necessarily, but you'll come to a moment in your time where you're like, maybe that skirt could be just a little bit longer. Yeah. And it's when I feel it. It's not when somebody else tells me to feel it. It's just, I sort of know where I am on my journey. But I think everyone just having that confidence. If you love what you're wearing, wear it.
Yeah, because I was watching a Instagram post, and it was an older, sophisticated man. And he goes, are you an older guy wearing shoes, sneakers? And I was like, oh, I was shrinking, you know what I mean? Because I wear sneakers. And he's like, you should dress like this. And he showed all these outfits with really nice shoes, and he was really put together. And then I told my wife, oh man, he made me, I gotta go buy some nice shoes. I can't walk around like this. And she goes, no, Sam, you like shoes, wear them.
Yep.
But he almost made me second guess myself. And so as you're moving and you're changing careers and you're stepping into fashion, how did you keep from people discouraging you? Like you say, no, this is what I want to do. This is where my calling is, because I got discouraged from an Instagram post.
Yeah. I didn't go in right away. So I had a whole career in marketing and advertising. So I did that for a lot of years. Yeah. And as I had mentioned to you when we were talking before, I was living in New York during 9/11. And it was one of those pivotal moments, I think, for a lot of people. We came back to work the next day, and people were going off to do other things. Everyone was trying to find their calling. Literally, people went and became kindergarten teachers. Someone I worked with became a tennis pro. And I decided to go back to school at night and studied fashion design, because I'd always knew that it's something I wanted to do. So I went back to Parsons at night and did a 2-year certificate degree in fashion design, and I loved that. And then I went back and did a 2-year at FIT in image consulting, which I thought was really amazing as well. But I didn't actually go and do it because I almost felt, and I've never actually had imposter syndrome, which I'm happy to report. I've always sort of had faith in what I do, but I never actually thought being a fashion designer in some ways was a real job. I thought it was a job that Oscar de la Renta had, or
just a few people that you see in the spotlight.
Yeah, I didn't think that it was something that I actually could do.
Yeah.
And then, now here I am 10 years in my business, and, even when you introduced me and called me a fashion designer, I'm like, oh, wow. It still feels odd to me because it's something that somebody else does.
Got it. I was in New York not too long ago, and I walked by where the Twin Towers used to be, and you mentioned you were there during 9/11. What did that change? And I mean, I know it's a small question, but what did it change that you carry with you now? That from that time, because so many things changed, not only as a country, but for individuals, but even especially for the people that were there during that time. What's something that people outside of New York wouldn't have experienced that maybe you did?
Yeah, it was absolutely a life-changing moment. Like, there's a few, I've had probably 5, moments in my life where everything changed, and that was definitely a moment where everything changed.
Yeah.
And I think one thing people didn't realize is how close everybody in New York got. You forget that the bottom of the city was burning for months, and you smelled it every day. Everybody got really close. Like, you would say hi to everybody you saw on the street. Every time you saw a police officer or a fireman, you would say thank you. When tourists started coming back eventually, I remember just seeing people on the street with maps and stopping, saying, "Can I help you? And we so appreciate you coming back to the city." Like, it was something that it changed everything, and it became, I guess, New York in some ways even became more insular because everybody was looking out for everybody.
And speaking about change, it can be difficult, whether it be something life-changing like that, or even just career-changing. And so you said you had another career in marketing, you went back to school, and you were about to venture off somewhere new. Now, it has some similarities with design and marketing and stuff, but how did you handle that change? Where did you develop, like, to be able to say, I'm going to do this, and it's a huge shift? People have a hard time changing.
Yeah.
They get comfortable, and they're just going to be on that path, even though they have something inside saying, do this, you love this, express yourself this way, but they won't because they're scared of change.
Yeah.
Where did you find the courage? Was it people around you? Was it self-talk? Give us a little insight about how to confront change and then make it happen.
Yeah, I think I started it as a side hustle. So I was playing it a bit safe. So I did it for the first 2 years. I would get up, I was living in Singapore at the time. I would get up at 4 a.m. I had a production team in New York, so I would meet with them at 4 a.m. and then I would go through my day at work and come home and keep working on it then. And about 2 years in, actually, the woman that ran leasing for us, I was working for a shopping center in Singapore, came across my website. And she didn't even see the name, but she looked at the clothes and the styling, and right away she knew it was me. And she said, "Are you doing this?" And I said, "Yes, I am." And I, fessed up that I was doing this, and I told my boss, and I told the CEO of the company, and I said, "If you consider it a conflict of interest, I can go, there's no issue." And they said, "You've been doing it for 2 years, you're doing a great job at work, so keep going, just go for it." And so I did that. I wound up making it a full-time gig through another unfortunate situation. So another one of those pivotal life moments where my husband actually had a stroke in Singapore and was, almost died. And it was a massive change in our lives. So we both left our jobs, our paying jobs, and we moved back to Melbourne so we could be close to his family and, sort of get all those memories back that he needed. So I almost through circumstance had to take a punt and just say, okay, now I'm doing this full time.
You have your name, that's your company name, that's your brand. A lot of people would choose another name, and there's plenty of reasons for either or. But I think it takes a special individual to name something with their name. My podcast is called The Failed Podcast, but inside I want to brand it, and I want Sam Esquivel in something small because I want to put my name out there. When I don't know why, it calls me to do that right now. Like it seems like the right thing to do. I don't know if I will. How did you get to that point? Because not everyone does. I feel like it's hard to say, I'm going to name it my name, and I'm going to say my name 100 times, and I'm going to be in conversations, and people are going to say my name. How have you come to terms with that?
Yeah. So I actually didn't want to name it with my name. It was actually my production team in New York said, you're the brand. People are buying the brand because they like the way you dress. At least at the beginning, that was definitely the situation. It was people that I had worked with in the past that were buying the brand.
Yeah.
So I've always been a little behind, wanting to be behind the scenes, and then I'd get pushed in front of the scenes. But it's also easier as a marketer because you're building one brand. I don't have to build a brand and then try to build, the designer behind it. So it's actually easier from a marketing perspective. And then I put New York in the name because initially I was making in New York. And I said, if I'm going to pay a premium to make in New York, I might as well put it in the name and get credit for it. Now I make most of my pieces in Melbourne, Australia, and other places around the world because I go wherever I can get the best quality, and I don't make in New York anymore. So it's a little confusing now where I'm still on the fence, like, do I keep New York in the name? But at the end of the day, I still have a very New York aesthetic, so it's staying.
This day and age, there's so many people that want to start a clothing brand. Printing, screen printing, all that's very accessible. That's more graphic led than anything than designing and making clothes. What are some challenges where you got to clock in and it's work? And then what are some things that you really enjoy from what you do? Because some people look at it and say, oh, that would be a great job. It's easy and fun all the time. So what are some pros and cons that you appreciate?
Yeah. Well, you clock in and you never clock out. Let's start there. So it's definitely 24/7. You're going 24/7. And even like if I'm going out to lunch, I am probably looking at what people are wearing. I might be taking a sneaky picture of, a dress or something along those lines. It's a hard business. Everyone says, if you could do it over, would you do it over? And sometimes I even say to myself, would I do it over? But I love it. I'm passionate about it. And I said, if I ever retired, let's just say I'd stayed in marketing and I was at the age now where I could retire, I'd probably want to open a women's clothing store or start a brand. So I'm doing what I love without question. But you need a lot of money. You need probably 3 times the amount of money that you think you need. Things will go wrong, and even 10 years into the business, you can get something back in production and it's not right, and then you've got to deal with that. It's one of my friends calls it the Olympics of little details, and it is that there's so much. Everything from I look at the store behind us here. It's like I picked every hanger, I picked every button, I picked every bit of thread color. I designed it. I decided what trims were going with it. I designed the store. Like every single little bit of it is. You need to be making those decisions. So it's not for somebody who doesn't like to work. A lot of people, I think, want to just get an Instagram brand and then be making money from Instagram. The amount of work that goes into having a brand is incredible. Never mind the marketing and all that side of it as well.
Yeah. So what advice would you give to someone who, because when you're in school and they're like, what do you want to be? I want to be a firefighter. I want to be a cop. But what if someone says, I want to be a fashion designer? And what would you tell them to encourage them, but also to be certain that they want to go in that direction?
I would say get a mentor early. So I've had mentors in other parts of my career, but I didn't have a mentor in this industry. And I probably got my first mentor through the Australian Fashion Council. She's wonderful. And that was in about 2019, I think. And I'd started the business in 2015. If I had the knowledge that I was given from her, then I wouldn't have made some of the mistakes that I made. So I think find somebody, go work for somebody else. Like I'd never worked for anybody else in fashion. I've worked for other people in marketing, but never in fashion. Work for somebody else. Don't think you know everything because there's a lot. Again, the amount of details there are incredible.
How do you set yourself up so that people around you that are collaborating with you know that you're a person that's willing to learn from them, that you're willing to listen? Because you said it, maintain the willingness to learn, but it's a vibe that you give off. And there's some people, their vibe is, I don't want to learn or hear anything. We're going to do it my way. I don't think that's the right way. The collaboration is the best way to grow stuff in good teams. So how do you show people around you that that's what you like?
Yeah, I'm just very open, and I listen to everybody. I lead from example. I hire people better than me. I think that's always really, really important that you hire somebody for a skill also that you don't have. I'm a morning person. You hire some night people. Like you need a holistic group that everybody fills a role. And we have, like within this team, we have people that do amazing merchandising. We have people now that help me with design. I've got somebody that is a great person with social media and emails, but it's finding all those people and putting it together as a team, and then really, praising the people that you have, and not, I think I'm very much lead with a carrot, not a stick.
Yeah. What's one of the most valuable lessons that you've learned being in the fashion industry? And when did you say you started?
2015.
2015. Since then? It could be a few. It doesn't have to be one because I'm sure there's a lot of them.
Yeah, there's so many. I mean, I think if you look at the fashion industry, you don't have to just compare it to other businesses within the fashion industry. I think we are now, even though we sell clothes, we have to compare ourselves to the greater set in the world. You know, the Amazons of the world, and our emails, or sorry, our website needs to be really, really easy to use. So we're being compared to all these other brands, not just other clothing brands. It's 24/7.
Oh yeah.
There's, I think, a lot of people in the business don't share. There's a few of us, like I found my tribe now that, you know, we get a great factory, we'll tell other people about our factory. We find, great people on social media, we'll tell our friends about people on social media. But as a general rule, I think people are very closed. They don't want to help other people. But if you find your group, you know, you'll get people that will really reward you.
You think of gatekeeping at that point, you know, that people don't want to share certain things that
Absolutely.
can help them. How did you choose that you were going to be a gatekeeper and share your information and kind of be maybe mentor other people or be just open to helping others?
I think it's just who I am as a person. Like I've always been like that, like believe in sharing. I also believe in teamwork. I know I can't do everything myself. And, you know, I even have someone on my team now, she's wonderful, and she's so wonderful, and she's doing so much on her own. And I keep saying to her, you need to find that person on the team or the two people on the team to help you do this, because you can't do everything yourself. But I think when you really feel passionate about something, you can want to hold it all inside. But I think it's very, very important to realize that you need a team. You can't, especially at a business of our size, like now we're a global business, we've got 4 stores. We sell online, we sell with third-party partners like Wolf & Badger and The Iconic and Garmentory. So we need a team, and we need a team of experts.
Goal setting is so important. There's so many ways to do it, but I always like to see how someone that has a business, has team, has leadership, how they set goals, because you have to be more strategic. So what does your goal setting look like as an individual? And does it translate to your team and your business?
So I'm very big on lists and Excel spreadsheets, and I live in my diary. I write and write and write. The thing I do often, and this is something not to do, we talk about failures, is I write, I have all these plans, and then I just go. And I don't have time to actually sit back and look at the plans and like go, am I doing this the right way? Because I'm just so moving forward, because there's always so much stuff to get done. And now really trying to be strategic about following, you know, as we've become a bigger company now, like we're obviously much bigger than we were even 5 years ago. So now I need policies and procedures. I need all those types of things, and I can't just run a million miles an hour. And at one point someone says, you know, like, where's the handbook? And I'm like, well, 4 years ago, this business was me and Georgie. Like there was 2 of us, you know, we didn't need a handbook. Like we called each other and said, this is what's happening. And now we've grown to such a size, you know, that we can't operate that way anymore.
Is there a certain piece of clothes that you designed that really challenged you, or maybe introduced you to someone or a factory, something that maybe a piece of clothing that changed your business or just your life?
I can always tell when I'm designing. There's 1 piece or 2 pieces in each collection. Like obviously I love everything, because I wouldn't be designing it if I didn't love it. Yeah. But there's always 1 or 2 pieces that I absolutely can't wait to wear. There was 1 pair of pants that we did called the Maverick pant, which is actually named after my nephew Maverick. And it is a Maverick pant because it's a drop crotch pant. It's not for everybody, but the women that want to buy it are really interesting women. So I've got some clients that every time I come up with a new color for it or a new pattern for it, they'll buy it. And they're just those women that have that confidence. You know, they're not scared of what other people think of them. And it's just a really interesting piece of clothing, because 90% of the people don't want it, but the 10% that do are the woman that I really consider the Lindsay Nicholas New York woman.
This is going to be hard because you're a fashionista, but if there was one outfit that you could wear for a year, I know that's a long time, it almost seems it wouldn't happen in real life, but if you had to choose something to wear for a whole year, what does it look like? What does it feel? What's the history of it, and why?
So the interesting thing is that I'm actually very much a uniform person. So when I worked in advertising, I would wear black theory trousers and a black J. Crew shell almost every single day. I had about 10 pairs of the trousers, 10 of the shells, and then I would just change my accessories. And it was my uniform. And then one day I bought the exact same outfit in brown, and I came into the office and someone said I looked like a rainbow because I was finally not wearing black, which was very funny. But I'm actually very much a uniform person. When I saw you yesterday when we were meeting, I was wearing my leopard slit skirt and what we call a Wellesley sweater, and I could wear that outfit every day. And I have to admit, like even during COVID, I wore a Wellesley sweater and a Maverick pant probably every day. I got dressed every day, put my makeup on every day. I got myself together just to make sure that I didn't fall into a heap. But I wore the same outfit probably for 4 days in a row, and then I would change into something else. But I wore that outfit a lot. But I am a uniform person, and I will, because I also work in different stores. So I might be in my home office one day and then I might be in a store. So there might be days that I actually wear the same outfit 3 days in a row, and I don't mind it.
Well, I like to wear like a black shirt and then just either black pants or like blue jeans. And I keep it simple. I tell myself that I do it because I want to start the day off without big decisions in the morning. Now, I don't mind putting some color on and changing a few things. Steve Jobs represented that real well. And as I studied him, I found out his shirts were like custom made from a well-known designer. They just weren't like a turtleneck. It was more behind it. What would you tell someone? I know it's men's fashion, but guys that do wear uniforms every day, how would you introduce maybe stepping and breaking a rule every now and then?
I think it's really good to see a stylist. So if you go to a store that you like, find somebody there. Most stores, we do free personal styling. Most stores will have a personal stylist. Like there's a wonderful store here in Dallas called Stanley Korshak. Go there. Have somebody just put things on you. There's never any obligation to buy. It's just try something new, step out of your comfort zone, and you'll put it on and you'll feel it or you won't. You know, you might go, nope, I'm back to that. And then if you're wearing a uniform, you know, just to the point that you were making, buy something beautiful, really well-made clothes. I'm such a fan of just things have to be incredibly well-made. And maybe it's because I grew up not getting anything, you know, if something was on sale, it was damaged, it was bad, there was something wrong with it. So I am a real connoisseur of amazingly well-made clothes.
So I like the black shirt, and one time I splurged on a nice black shirt, and my wife didn't know, but I would wear it over and over. It ripped in a few places, and I said, don't throw it away. I want to keep wearing it. I was attached to it because it was a high quality shirt, and finally I had to get rid of it. But I understand what you're saying. So as far as fashion rules and stuff, what's a fashion rule that you love to break, or what maybe include?
It's interesting. So I was actually an image consultant as well. I used to be on the board of Association of Image Consultants International. And there's, you know, with your color tone, you should be wearing gold or silver jewelry, or there's certain colors that you should wear. But I find if you wear sometimes a different color than what you're supposed to wear, it actually pops more. So if I'm wearing, you know, I should be wearing silver jewelry, but if I wear gold jewelry, it's gonna pop a bit more, and maybe that's the intention that I had. Maybe I do want that piece of jewelry to be more noticeable.
What's a favorite accessory for women right now? I know it's a broad range, but maybe she doesn't dress up often. She's trying to build her confidence. And the same question for guys. What's a great accessory that a guy could add to kind of just step his foot into that direction of saying, I want to step up my fashion game?
I love accessories. I'm an accessory person. We have a chain belt, a gold chain belt that I wear with everything. I wear it with jeans. I wear it with, the only reason I didn't wear it today is because I was wearing a lace skirt. But I wear it with everything. It's just a great piece. It changes any outfit. So you can take something really simple and make it just zhuzh it up a little bit. And I think with men, always good shoes, I think, are really important, and a nice belt. Shoes and a belt just are everything.
We get busy and we're focused on our jobs and our careers that we tend to forget about ourselves, right? We neglect us for the betterment of everyone around us. What do you do to take care of yourself mentally, physically? Is there a fun hobby? Is there something unique that you do that really helps you disconnect? And I'm asking this because so many people nowadays, they cannot disconnect from what their responsibilities are, that they start losing their identity. And it gets wrapped up, and it's not a bad thing, but I feel like we need to have time for ourselves and what we like. Is there anything like that stands out for you?
I work out in the morning, first thing in the morning, I always try to work out. I used to be a big runner. I'm just I still run, but I'm starting to get back into it the way I used to. But I sort of have been doing more like F45 type workouts. But when I run, I don't think about work. It's one of those, that's my meditation. And I do meditate as well. Like I try to meditate every day. Sometimes I'm good, sometimes not so good. But I do try to meditate. I love on my days off going for a really long walk, like doing a 10-mile walk when I'm not in the store. I mean, usually I am, looking at my phone, seeing if any orders are coming in, or just, there are things definitely that I'm doing that are work related, but I try to just go for a walk with my husband and just zone out. And then I have my sort of behavior, because I do work 7 days a week, as I have to. And truthfully, everyone's like, take more time off. And if I take time off, I just sort of, pardon me, screw myself the next day, because there's twice as much work to do the next day. So if I just always continuously work, it's fine. But my way, a lot of times I'll go to my factory, and on the way home, I'll take my husband to lunch. And while he's not a huge fan of lunch, I am a huge fan of lunch. So I'll go to lunch, and I know if I'm having a glass of wine with lunch that I'm actually not working. And that's the delineation between being at work and not being at work. So
as a creative, it's hard to stay inspired and motivated sometimes, because in order for that to happen, a lot of people, they need people to respond to it, interact with it, whether it be buying it, if you're an artist, looking at it, appreciating it. As fashion evolves quickly, season by season, a new celebrity launches something, how do you stay inspired and motivating for your next line? And for because it moves so fast. Yeah,
it does move so fast. And I have a million ideas. One thing that we try to say that we're on taste, not on trend. And I do have someone that works on the team who's a little bit more trend driven, and which is wonderful. But I want to make things, I obviously have to be aware of the trends, but let's just say a beautiful burgundy suit comes out. You're very shortly going to be able to get that at any price point. So you're going to get it at Victoria Beckham. You can probably get it at Zara, even maybe before Victoria Beckham even has hers out. So I want to create things that are obviously within a trend, but they're not things that you're going to see everywhere. I want, when you come into Lindsay Nicholas New York, that you're going to find things that you can't find anyplace else. And you will. Like, there's nothing outside of the stores that we sell with. You're not going to find our product anywhere. And we're not copying things. Everything that we do is unique to us. So I think I don't have a shortage of inspiration. During COVID, I remember finding it a bit rough, because I used to joke that unless my husband came into the kitchen with some great new outfit on, I wasn't seeing the inspiration that I needed to. And I like to see people in real life. So it's not just what's in the magazines, because by the time it's in the magazines, it's happened. I like seeing what the young people are wearing. I like seeing what people are wearing to work. And then I remember the first time I went back to New York after COVID, everybody was still in sweats. And I was like, oh no.
Sweats are coming back now, by the way.
Yeah, I'm just like, I can't deal with this. So now it's been really lovely. And actually being in Dallas is wonderful, because women here really do put themselves together. So it's been wonderful to go out, and I feel really reinvigorated, because I have so many women walking by that inspire me.
You've traveled, you've been to a lot of cities. For me, I haven't been to a lot of places, but I was in LA, and then I was in New York, and I like New York fashion, like the way for me, when I was on the train, I was looking at what shoes men were wearing, because I said, if they're wearing them, that means I can wear them all day, and my feet are going to be fine. What city has stood out to you and really inspired you, where the people not only look good, but what they're wearing makes sense?
Yeah, I think anywhere in Italy.
Yeah.
I would, if you asked me probably 10 years ago, I would have absolutely said Paris. And now I find, like, when I go to Italy, that it's just this, it's almost the quiet luxury, but it's not quite quiet. But it's the simplest outfits that just look amazing because of an accessory, because of the way a shirt's tucked in. So there's nothing like over the top. I do love LA, but LA is very color. And, if you think sort of the Kardashian aesthetic, it is very much about the clothing, where I want it to be very much about the woman and the confidence and that quiet confidence that she has, as opposed to be, look at me, look at me. It's more like, I already feel confident in myself, and this is how I carry myself.
If you had to describe your personal style in 3 words or more, how would you describe it?
Modern, intelligent, and chic.
In life, we face a lot of failures and challenges. And, it's that gray cloud. It can stick with someone for a long time. And I want to motivate people we're not going to do away with it. So the lesson is, what are you going to learn from it? Like, how are you going to come out stronger. And so when you think of the word failure, how would you define it?
Yeah. So I always think that failure is not the opposite of success. I've actually talked about this with my teams quite a bit. If you're not failing, you're not taking a risk, and if you're not taking a risk, you're not innovating. Yeah. So that it's you have to fail to be successful, and if you're playing it too safe, you're probably, first of all, probably not going to work on my team, because I want people that aren't scared to take a risk and say, like, I make mistakes all the time, and I have no problem saying I'm sorry. Like, I'd rather make a mistake. Like, I'd never do it to hurt anybody or anything along those lines, but I have no problem saying, God, I screwed that one up. You know, let's go back to the drawing board on that one. But then I've learned, and I'm not going to make that same mistake again.
And what advice would you give to someone that's failing right now?
They're not failing. You know, you're not failing. You're finding the different route to get to where you want to get to. So it's just pulling your boots up and just getting on with it. Yeah. And then, you know, if you're really feeling like you're failing, you know, again, find a mentor, find a resource. I think you'd be surprised if you reach out to people on LinkedIn, how many people would take a call with you. I had someone write me a few months ago who just happened to see something that I put on my hometown's Facebook page, and she wrote me saying, my son's trying to get into fashion design, would you mind having a chat with him? You know, I'll take time out of my day to help young people, because I appreciate the fact that people have done it for me.
It's 2025, spring is upon us. What are the colors, maybe a trend or two, or something that you think this is what should be happening this spring, 2025?
I think, again, as we try to stay more on taste than on trend, but what we have coming out soon, actually next week, we have a great new dress coming out, and this is going to be, people will laugh at this that are fashion people, because it's a floral dress, and as the joke with Anna Wintour is, you know, oh, florals for spring, isn't that original? But but it's a really beautiful, it's our first custom floral, so we did our own custom floral that has our, like, very subtly has our name in it. And that'll come out next week, and it's a beautiful hand feel, and we're doing that in a beautiful sand color in black and in white with a really robust florals. Yeah. And I have redone my apartment in Australia, where my husband and I live, and I've done beautiful floral wallpaper. I've just gotten really back into floral wallpaper, and the wallpaper inspired this dress.
Will you ever do a men's line?
Yes. Okay. I need to, and it's been on my list forever and ever and ever.
Start with the black shirt.
So, yeah, the black shirt we can do. Yeah. In the last week, I've had a request for a black shirt, a black suit, but I've made clothes for my husband. I actually showed at New York Fashion Week in 2018 with men's. They actually asked me to come in, and I had made clothes for my husband, so I just had to quickly make some new clothes. Yeah. So I sent all the pieces that I had made for my husband to New York to have my pattern maker make additional pieces for me, and they got lost in a snowstorm, but that's a whole different story. So I got in, and my lovely pattern maker worked overnight to get everything together for the show. But I definitely want to do it. I have men that have bought my clothes, you know, sort of exploring their more feminine side. Mm-hmm. There are some pieces that we would consider, like our new trench coats that just came in. Oh, yeah. We consider them pretty androgynous, but I definitely want to get into men's, and I've had so many requests for it. And I do actually find that a lot of the women that come into our store would wear the men's as well, because I find that there's that you know, just wanting to be comfortable wearing something a little bit oversized.
Well, I'm looking forward to, I hope you do a husky line, and then I'll come in.
Husky.
No.
I actually am going to do it, because I have been talking about it forever and ever and ever, and it just needs to happen. Yeah.
Well, it was really nice to meet you, and I'm excited for what you're doing. I'm in your store, and I've seen all this stuff. It's all very beautiful, and so I wish you well in your endeavors, and thank you for sitting with us and having a conversation.
Best way to find us is to go to lindsaynicholasnewyork.com. We're also on Wolf & Badger in Australia. We're on The Iconic. We're on David Jones in Australia. We're on the Garmentory here. But the best place is to come to our website and follow us on socials at Lindsay Nicholas New York.
Very good. Well, thank you so much.
Yeah, thank you very much.
Guys, thank y'all. It was my pleasure as well. Thank y'all so much for tuning in. I hope y'all learned something. I know I did. So
here we are.
We'll see you on the next one. Y'all have a good one.